Okay, what are we talking about that's fun today? Everything's fun, right?
Everything's fun. We have questions. We have such an incredible response from our audience to Dr. Perricone. I have to tell you, people ping us when they feel like it's about time for a new episode. And
That's
even
great.
when
That's
when we
great.
drop everything, they can't wait. They're so looking forward to the beauty molecule launching April 15th. Can we get a sneak peek? But they're starting to submit questions already. And our first one is from Wendy. She's 59. And Wendy says, Dr. Perricone, I've heard of Cosmeceuticals and Nutraceuticals. What are Neuroceuticals mentioned in the description for the beauty molecule on Amazon?
Okay, well, good question. I was the first one out there with my brand as a cosmeceutical, and no one knew what it was. So a nutraceutical is basically just that. In this book, everything is focused upon one molecule, which is the beauty molecule. And that molecule does everything in the body, but one of the chief functions of that molecule is in the central nervous system, the brain. And it acts as we call a neurotransmitter. So I'll have a number of approaches and strategies to increase the level of acetylcholine. So there'll be supplements, those are the neuroceuticals. And then, of course, there'll be foods that are rich in the precursors of or the actual acetylcholine molecule. And there'll be other ways of administering it, transdermal and a lot of other ways. So neuroceuticals is basically the same thing. It's just focused toward the central nervous system, the brain, and acetylcholine. But since this functions in all places, so it's in the neuromuscular junction, and that's why DMA is so effective, because DMA is a precursor of acetylcholine. So back when in my office, and I was running around seeing patients, and I had a patient in, and I was working on their face, and I put some lotion with the DME on, but it was only a half the face, and I got called to the phone. And he's like, all doctors were very rude. I was on the phone too long. Came back in, walked in, and I'm looking at the patient, and their face is totally asymmetric. It's lifted on one side because so you have a muscle here and you have the nerve here, and then it squirts out this acetylcholine. There's not a direct connection. It's not an electrical connection. It's a chemical. It squirts it out and latches onto the receptors and gives tone to the muscle. And so by putting DMAE in, we just elevate that level. And so you get really great tone in the face, and the face gets used to it, and it doesn't reverse. It just looks younger. So the big study we did in my book with Johnson and Johnson, we have in the back of the book pictures before and afters, and everybody says, "Well, they just lost weight; they didn't lose any weight." As we get older, our muscles just stretch and we get wider. Because you look at what looks when you look at your own face is always more compact, right? And we just kind of turn into a blob as we get older. So that's what that's all about. So it's neuroceuticals. It's exciting. Many strategies we have in the book, and this is every part of your body functions like this. And I have some really good examples of that when I was a medical student. There's a disease where you can't use the acetylcholine, and you start getting really flappy muscles. And a patient came in, and they had a problem with an eyelid kind of hanging down. So we just had to test it. It was a simple test you do. It was a little injection in the arm, and it would raise levels of acetylcholine. And if it was truly that problem, the lid would come up, but it did not come up. So that wasn't the diagnosis, but it was interesting to do that in my first year of med school.
Wow. Well, see, I have one of those.
Just get the DMA lotion, the toning, and just it'll lift, totally lift.
The Perricone MD.
Yeah, check it out. Let me know.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, good. With the book in terms of supplements, but it's a very powerful book because it really explains a lot of things that were mysterious in the past. And over the years, and with all the research that I've done, it's now pretty clear what's happening. But this thing about acetylcholine is so amazing because, like I said, it's a neurotransmitter. It makes your muscles work, and it's incredibly anti-inflammatory. Okay, which is wow, total wow. So when we were doing the studies with J&J on DMAE, they had to do studies about if there was any irritation from the product, because they always test it really. These big companies have to be really thorough to make sure that there's no toxicity, there's no irritation. So they would test on these little rabbits on their little pads, and they would put it on the foot pad, and then they just measure it to see if it was getting inflamed at all. And they were totally mystified because the pad, the little pad on the left foot, they applied it. It had less inflammation than the control, which was a nothing. Okay, so they were totally stunned.
Interesting.
It was cool.
Interesting. Well, inflammation, of course, as we know, is the monster. It's the big bad guy.
It is totally, and it's so important. And so, when I started way out there with the anti-inflammatory diet, when you eat the anti-inflammatory diet, you hit all of those receptor sites like GLP-1 and GIP, and it turns off inflammation. And then so when you turn off inflammation, your metabolism gets set perfectly. So now that's been validated by Mounjaro and Ozempic, because those are pharmaceuticals that hit those receptor sites. So instead of doing it, via diet, you've got this powerful pharmaceutical. So now they're saying, like, we never came out with this for these new things they're seeing, but they said we had no idea. So it validates the whole thing about my inflammation and metabolism control and aging. So, and that's what got me in big trouble, was the aging. So the inflammation, aging, disease theory, and it's all valid now. It's accepted. So when you take say you take your injection of Mounjaro once a week, you are really slamming those receptors. You're turning off inflammation in a big way. And so what really impresses me, yes, you get weight loss because it's normalizing your metabolism. But more importantly, because you're turning off inflammation, you start getting repair of all the mitochondria in your body. And so after about a year, just about everybody I've seen who've been on it consistently look about, I'd say, 5 to 7 years younger.